Hey everyone, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to be talking to you about exercise and immune function. Have you ever wondered why some people are more prone to infections while others are not? Multiple factors like stress, body composition, lifestyle, and chronic diseases can affect the performance of our immune system, and any deviation from the normal pattern can affect our immunity. So today I want to go over some of those factors, talk about how they affect our immunity, and then discuss what you can do to boost your own immunity. The first factor I want to discuss is stress. Stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. When we're stressed, the body produces a stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol can suppress your immune system by lowering the number of lymphocytes or white blood cells that can help fight off an infection. The lower your lymphocyte level, the more at risk you are for viruses, including the common cold and the flu. Now, in short bursts, stress can be positive, such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. But when our bodies have elevated stress levels over an extended period of time, it continues to produce high levels of cortisol, further compromising the immune system. People in this state are often irritable, angry, anxious, and have panic attacks or racing thoughts. High levels of stress can also cause depression and anxiety, leading to higher levels of inflammation. And sustained high levels of inflammation point to an overworked, overtired immune system that can't properly protect you. So the next factor I want to discuss is body composition and obesity. Research shows that too much or too little body fat can lead to suppression of the immune system. Excess weight gain can put you at the risk of developing comorbid conditions like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. And this can lead to a decrease in the body's ability to fight against infections due to a weak immune response. So when your body gets sick due to a bacterial infection or a virus, the body's defense system gets triggered, causing inflammation. This reaction is caused by white blood cells and the proteins they emit called cytokines. These cytokines encourage inflammation. And you may have never thought of it this way before, but inflammation that's triggered by your immune system is actually a good thing. This means that your body is releasing the appropriate hormones and working to defeat the infection. If there wasn't any inflammation, your body would be in serious trouble. So, if inflammation is what naturally occurs when your body's immune system is triggered, how does inflammation relate to body fat, body composition, and obesity? Well, when white blood cells cause inflammation, it's a sign that your body's immune system is properly functioning. Inflammation begins, white blood cells attack the foreign invader, the invader is neutralized, and the inflammation subsides. This is how your body's defense system naturally works. However, white blood cells aren't the only type of cell that have the ability to emit cytokines. A second type of cell that can emit cytokines and cause inflammation are fat cells. So this means that increased fat cells puts your body in a constant state of stress or immune response. Your body is always in a state of inflammation and your immune system is permanently switched on. Next, we have lifestyle factors. And it makes a lot of sense that a healthy diet and lifestyle results in better immune function. But did you know that eating certain foods can actually hinder your immune system? Studies have shown that spikes in sugar intake suppress your immune system. So if you consume a lot of foods and drinks that are high in sugar or refined carbohydrates, you may be reducing your body's ability to ward off disease. And for this reason, doctors often advise against consuming these things in excess. So these are things like your sodas, processed foods, foods and drinks that are high in sugar, refined carbohydrates, alcoholic beverages, and then while it's not part of a food group, tobacco products can also compromise the immune system. And if you aren't eating a healthy, balanced diet, you could also be deficient in certain vitamins and minerals, which can hinder the immune response. This is why it's so important to know what you're deficient in and supplement where needed through either changing your diet or taking supplements. Now, if you've been to a drugstore or a Walmart lately, I'm sure you've noticed that many supplements have been wiped out of the shelves. And that's because since the pandemic's beginnings, there have been several studies that have shown that micronutrients such as vitamins C, D, and zinc have been known to boost the immune system and reduce the risk of respiratory infection. And with COVID being a respiratory infection, these nutrients have been prescribed and advised by healthcare professionals since the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm not telling you exactly to go and take all these supplements, but it is a good idea to talk with your doctor to see if you are deficient in any of these vitamins and minerals. So you can see if you need to take supplements or change your diet, and that can help to boost your immunity to prevent you from getting sick or decrease your chances of getting COVID. Next, we have chronic disease. And 6 out of 10 Americans live with at least one chronic disease, such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, stroke, and high cholesterol. And these diseases can negatively affect our immune system if they are not controlled. So you can think of our body like a well-oiled machine. It's really good at compensating where it needs to in order to restore balance in the body. For instance, let's say you have an injury to your ankle and it starts to swell. That's actually your body trying to fix the problem. And the body can handle things like this for short amounts of time, which is pretty amazing. However, if this problem continues to last, your body is going to run out of reserves to help fix the problem. Another good example is if you're walking around with hypertension or diabetes and not treating that with medicine, or if you're not eating or exercising like you're supposed to, that means your body is working extra hard to fix that problem. And when something else comes along, like a virus introduced to your body isn't going to respond as efficiently because it has other things to control and worry about. And this can lead to you having more complications with a sickness or taking longer to get over a sickness. And eventually you're going to create wear and tear on your body, and it will be like an overworked machine. So that's why it's so important to control chronic disease and listen to your doctor's recommendations, take medications as prescribed, and eat healthy and exercise for your body. So far, we've been discussing factors that affect our immunity. So now I want to jump to talking about COVID-19 and some risk factors specifically for that. So right now, we're living in a time where we're all worried and concerned about our immunity. We know that everyone is at risk for COVID, and we all want to stay safe. But there are people who are more at risk than others. So I do want to go over that and some ways that we can all help to boost our immunity going forward. So many of the factors we talked about today are also risk factors for developing COVID or having complications with it. So one of those is stress, and we know that chronic stress wears the body down. Over time, stress keeps the body locked into a heightened response, resulting in damage somewhat similar to an engine idling for too long. So it's so important that we find ways to de-stress during these times. Some simple ways to cope with this stress are to take breaks from watching the news or reading social media. So while it's good to be informed, constantly hearing about the pandemic and all of the negative things can really be upsetting and affect your mood. You also want to make sure to take care of your body by getting plenty of sleep, eating good foods, and finding time to exercise. And then we also want to find time for ourselves to unwind and connect with others. This time is such an odd time for us, being that we can't be around the ones we love as much. So find ways to connect by talking over the phone or doing Zoom calls with friends or family, just so you can have that connection there. Next, growing data shows that a higher risk of COVID-19 infections and complications happen in people with high blood pressure. Data shows that high blood pressure is the most commonly shared pre-existing condition among those hospitalized, affecting between 30 to 50% of the patients. Other health conditions include cancer, diabetes, or lung disease. So that's why it's so important to take your medications, get proper nutrition, and exercise to help control those chronic diseases. And also, it has become clearer that people who are obese are one of the groups at highest risk from the disease, regardless of their age. Now, specifically those with a BMI over 30, which is roughly 40% of Americans. So obesity is linked to impaired immune function. We already talked a little bit about that. And it also decreases our lung capacity and reserve and can make ventilation more difficult. So hospitalized patients affected by obesity are more likely to develop secondary infections and complications, such as sepsis, pneumonia, and wound and catheter infections. So again, so important to make sure we're exercising, eating well, getting that adequate amount of sleep, and doing everything for our bodies that we can so that our immunity stays strong during this time. So now I want to talk about boosting immunity through exercise. So we've all heard that exercise is good for us. It helps to fight diseases such as high blood pressure, cholesterol, and obesity. But there's also evidence that exercise does help to improve immune function as well. Of course, with schedules all over the place and gyms closed, lacing up your shoes for a run can sometimes feel like the last thing you want to do. But the simple act of moving your body more can provide a powerful tool for fighting against infection. So there's so many benefits to exercise, and the first one I want to talk about is that it increases the amount of immune cells in our body. Because exercise increases blood and lymph flow as your muscles contract, it also increases the circulation of immune cells, making them roam the body at a higher rate and in higher numbers. So the more we exercise, the more immune cells we have, and the less likely we are to get sick. Now, while you do get an immediate response from your immune system when you exercise, that will eventually go away unless you keep working out consistently. So that's why you want to incorporate some kind of physical activity in your day-to-day life. We also know that exercise helps to decrease stress, it releases endorphins, makes us feel good, and helps to relieve tension. Another benefit of exercise is that it decreases inflammation in the body, which in turn can also improve immunity. In fact, some research links decreased levels of inflammatory markers to those that exercise more often and have a higher fitness level. So basically, to cut down on inflammation, just need to kick up your activity level. So when it comes to how much exercise is needed, the recommended amount is 150 minutes of moderate intense exercise per week or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise. So literally, if you just did a 30-minute walk or 30 minutes of moderate activity for 5 days of the week, that will add up to your 150 minutes. Now, there are several different types of exercise, so I want to go over 3 of those types today that are beneficial to your health. Strength training is the first one, and it's been proven to increase muscle mass in adults and decrease fat mass. Beyond a better body, studies also link strength training to improve coordination, better cognitive function, higher bone density, and reduced back pain in inactive adults. If you're not quite ready to try strength training, you can just simply take a walk. Being inside and glued to our screens is not good for us, and we don't need research to tell us that, although it does. Though social distancing regulations are in place, you can still go outside, which is what you should be doing because it helps to lower depression. A 2015 study from Stanford University linked 90-minute bouts of walking outdoors to decreased activity in the part of the brain that's associated with depression. So you really would be so surprised at what just a short walk can do for your health. Lastly, we have high-intensity interval training, which is also known as HIIT. And high-intensity interval training has you perform an exercise as hard as you can for a set time, usually anywhere from 20 to 60 seconds, and then you rest for the same amount of time. Compared to slow and steady exercise, you'll jack your heart rate up far higher and faster. It's very strenuous, but the bonus is that HIIT sessions typically last for about 15 to 20 minutes. And all of these exercises are things you can be doing during the pandemic as well. You can do all of these things. You can do strength training and high-intensity interval training at home or at the gym, and then you can walk outside on the sidewalk. You can go hiking, little things like that. So we all have access to these types of exercises. So here I'm just going to elaborate on some of those benefits of exercise. Moderate intensity exercise improves our immune function. We just talked a little bit about that. So basically, you don't have to exercise like an athlete in order to get those benefits to your immune system or the physical or mental benefits. So moderate activity can do you so much good. Immune function is greater in the elderly that are conditioned versus sedentary. So with COVID especially, we know that age is a risk factor, and some of the older population have been having complications with that. But if they are regularly active and in good condition, they are going to have a stronger immune system and be able to fight off the disease better. Being moderately active reduces the likelihood of upper respiratory tract infections, and exercise reduces the risk and severity of those infections as well. So just because you exercise doesn't mean you won't ever get sick, but it does help you to reduce the risk of getting sick. And on top of that, if you do contract something, it's generally less severe. And you can kind of think of exercise like medicine. It's not meant to treat, but it's there to help prevent. I want to leave you with some tips for exercise to help keep you motivated. And the first thing is to make it fun. If it's not something you enjoy, chances are you're not going to do it. If you find something that's fun, you won't have to find the time for it. You'll end up making the time for it. And it might take you several tries to find that one thing you love. It could be tennis, running, mountain biking, bar class, hiking. And by the way, if you do like outdoor activities or hiking, that picture in the top left was taken in Alabama. There are so many great places in Alabama to hike or do outdoor activities. So if that's your thing, if that piques your interest, I encourage you to check that out. Check out some places around you because there's so many. But getting back to it, it's okay to try out several things until you find that one you really enjoy. For instance, I despise running. Exercise is a big part of my life and career, but you won't typically find me running because it's just not my thing. So I choose activities that are fun to me, and it did take me some years to figure out what I like, which is okay. So just know that exercise doesn't have to be something you hate. You can find something you enjoy. Just be open to trying new things. Make exercise a habit and part of your lifestyle. Just like brushing your teeth, exercise should be part of your lifestyle because it helps to keep you healthy. Find an accountability partner. This is something that can be so helpful, and it's something I use quite often. If you have someone to walk with or go to an exercise class with, you're way less likely to make excuses and back out of exercise. So find a friend, a coworker, spouse, your child, or even your dog. Personalize it. So for me, I am not a morning person. I don't like getting up early. So I choose what works best for me, which is exercising after work. And there is no right or wrong way to do it. Just do whatever works best for you. Same goes with location. Some people like going to the gym or a class setting, while others prefer working out at home. Just make it your plan and personalize it to your needs. View it as a preventative. I exercise in part because I don't want to get the diseases that run in my family. So think of it as a preventative. It's not something you want to start once you get sick. It's something you want to do to prevent that. Make it diverse. If your physical activity stops being fun, you're more likely to stop doing it. So be open to changing it up every once in a while. Keep it in perspective. My reason for exercise is to be healthy for my family, be a better wife, a better dog mom, to have more energy at the end of the day, and to give my body what it needs. You don't have to be the best of the best at it, but you just want to work towards being your best self. And lastly, keep your motivation. Every once in a while, even the people who love exercise and thrive on being active, even every once in a while it gets stale for them. So it happens to everybody. If you feel that happening, take a break, change your routine, find another accountability partner, figure out something that would motivate you. Thanks for tuning in with me today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address, healthcoach@healthmedinc.com.